Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Show on Tuesday. I am your host, Tim TK, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Quentin Bedwell.
Yes, right here.
And joined, not as always, but now and maybe in future instances, Mackenzie Wortman.
We'll see. Hi.
All right.
Yes.
She's probably going to the Sunday show, the big kids table.
Hey, listen, it's only because of the time difference. I'm not sure if I can keep up with you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty late. Which,
Just a bit.
Tim, it's not too late on your side, right?
No. I am on the left coast here, so the sun has just set. We're still in the peak hours of dusk. It's pretty vibey.
It's 10 o'clock here. So.
It's 11 here.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, This is going to be way late for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, normally Jose is our East Coast time person, but he's on nocturnal, so that's his normal rising hours. But yeah, this is our host for tonight, and we're going to be talking about another kind of hard skill episode.
And drawing
yes.
this week.
And drawing this week. As opposed to the last one where I was the one drawing. I was learning how to ink and doing absolute butchery to Pete's cover for Wolf Hunter. I
did not see it yet. I should watch it. I definitely got to watch it now.
Oh yeah, we're going to go over. We want to do a little more craft centric episodes for our show since we all do a craft of some sort. And we wanted to do more of a hard skill focused on. We did Eclipse Studio, also formerly known as Manga Studio, going over some of the basics of inking. Like if you're just getting into the program, how do you get comfortable with it? What tools do you look for? What settings do you get set up? And where do you go from there? So this week we're going to be focused more on writing. And writing doesn't really have any unique tools to it. If we have to go to it and explain like a pen and paper or a keyboard, you might need some preliminary education there. Yeah.
Hey now.
And alcohol for some people.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. I just get my mom grab a pen, a pad, several gallons of bourbon, a cabin in the woods, and
moonshine.
There you go. So we're gonna be talking about.
It depends on what genre that you're writing, what you drink, right?
Yeah, no. I've been working on mystery noir stuff, so it's a lot of like bourbon and and whiskey. If I was going into
Scotch.
Yeah. The next project we're working on is a very high concept, spacey kind of a trip. So it's going to be nothing but
you might have to switch over to drugs then.
No, it's going to be nothing but absinthe and some other mind-altering substances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to go more natural.
Yeah, exactly. This Roland may have issues with the story, but
yeah.
There's where we're going to keep it on. That's what we do here. We're the West Coast show. We're a little more loose here. We're vibey.
Yeah.
But part of a group of skateboarders and longboarders who are all in their late 20s and above. So everyone has some form of sciatica or knee pain. But over here in Oregon, they filmed the movie Stand By Me. And and they have that full trail that you can go along, which is the trail they filmed on down to the house. And there's actually like several miles that you can also skateboard on because it's pretty well paved and maintained. So it's an annual thing where they get everyone on boards and just go up to the top of the mountain and back on longboards. There's one dude, I kid you not, his name was just for sake of privacy, I'll change at least his first name. But no last name was ever given. It was just Mushroom Kevin.
Mushroom Kevin. I love it already.
I know. And he brought a lot of tea to the to the ride, and he's like, "Hey man, you want some tea?" I'm like, and I had Monster Tea with me, very heavily caffeinated tea. I'm like, "No man, I'm good." He's like, "No, you want this? It's better. It's more natural, man." I'm like, He's like, yeah, psilocybin, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good. But no, he was chill, like 16 miles up and down. He was just vibing, man.
Man. Yeah, I've had my share of being around folks that like to do that stuff.
Yeah. That's maybe not for me, but if you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Probably one of the funniest and scariest things was there was a guy that I used to hang out with. We used to do all kinds of stuff. I'm from Southern Mississippi. What do you do on Southern Mississippi nights and stuff, especially on the weekends? But anyway, and he used to tell me all kinds of stories, and I always just considered him to be like a lightweight, and he's just talking smack, this stuff that he's done. And anyway, I found out later, and when I say later, I'm talking about 2 years into our relationship, this guy's not lying. And let me tell you, once I found out that he wasn't lying about all these stories, it was kind of like before, like what was the captain in Pirates of the Caribbean? He always tells these
Johnny
crazy
Depp,
stories.
yeah,
Johnny Depp. Well, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
But then I figured out this guy is telling the truth. And my first reaction was, I need to get as far away from this guy as I can. Because, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Pretty nuts.
We're 10 minutes into Mackenzie's first night with us, and we're already into psychedelics.
We're telling drug stories.
That's
good
okay.
old drugs.
Like, you're talking about like all this vibing and like this is the West Coast show, and it was like the first time I was ever on the West Coast. The first time I worked on a movie set, they told me to sit at just like, I don't know why this, I haven't thought about this for years. It just like flashback to this, like, I don't know, moment of my life. They told me to guard a truck with all the equipment. And a man walked up to me and was like, have you seen the dancing chameleons? And started talking to me about dancing chameleons. And I was like, what are you talking? I still have no idea. I was like, it wasn't a good first introduction to like the entertainment industry.
Yeah. Well, the problem is like things like that happen over here even without the drug use. Like there's one guy I know who was like literally he's a very sober person. Based on I was like, yeah, I had a dream tonight where I was being assaulted by garden gnomes. It's like, and I looked up at the I was like, there's some like symbology and like seeing gnomes in your dreams, but I don't know why they're garden gnomes or why they're so angry with me. Like, probably it's just in the air at this point.
Garden gnomes is a big thing around here because I know when we were in office, what I would do if somebody was out sick is I would go to the dollar store and I would buy all of these little dollar gnomes and I would just put them all over their desk. It was hilarious. One time my brother left to go on a trip and I had to house sit for him, and we filled his refrigerator up. We had him outside. We hid him around. We put him in his bed. It was great.
That's fantastic.
It cost a lot of money, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
I don't know what it is about gnomes. I had an aunt that used to buy like just these random gnomes. I mean, anywhere at flea markets, at Dollar Trees, and then just mail them randomly. I mean, it would just you get a package in the mail.
I've heard of people doing that. I've heard of people doing that.
Well, I guess the next level of that I've heard about is you can mail someone a potato. Like there's a service.
My sister did that.
Yeah, there's a service where you just like order someone a custom potato with like.
Yeah, my sister did that when I was sick last year. She sent me. It's called a potato parcel, and you get it, and it's a potato. And for hers, they like engraved or like put a picture of us on it, and then something about like, until you're better, look at this potato.
I have never heard of this.
Yeah,
I've never heard of a potato parcel.
Yes.
Wow, I'm already learning from our stream tonight. Holy moly!
Yeah, when you get
they put a warning in it. They're like, "Do not eat this potato. Go plant it." It's like, okay.
Those potatoes been chemically stabilized to be safe during travel. Yeah. When you get into perhaps the least educational portion of the show, we'll be talking about perhaps the first step for if you're looking to write a comic in particular, or writing really any story. The first thing you figure out is, what story are you going to write? Because it's not just a cool idea. You have to do what is known in film, but I think it's a skill that you should use in writing prose or writing comics. I do it in comics a ton, which is breaking the story or going in and actually it's much more common in TV because you have like 15 writers in a room, but to actually go through and break it down. So if you're working with a collaborative partner, like if you're co-creating something, it can be very helpful to do a proper breaking session where you actually design the story elements. But before we get to that, we break even more of the ice after psychedelics and potatoes.
That was just the introduction.
Yes, yeah. Jeff Potts has a magic potato, and if you can combine the both of them, you get a magic potato now.
Jeff Potts.
Yeah. That's the next stage. We need to get into doing some genetic engineering to cross the psilocybin mushroom and a potato. And
yep.
You
never know what you're going to learn about vegetables and fungi on this channel and all other kinds of. You never know
fungi.
What we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Fungi fun fact.
This
is blowing my mind. This is a thing that was published recently. A group of botanists have put out a research paper that has been vetted and essentially peer reviewed. It's an entry to it. They still need to do more research, but they have found that the nerve systems that mushrooms and funguses will put underground, mushrooms in particular, not all fungi, but certain mushrooms in particular, that they use to connect to other types of mushrooms. What's creepy is these are some of the necrotizing ones. But they've already know that plants will put off electrical signals and like their nerve roots and whatever, and they're kind of random, they're all sporadic. With these mushrooms, though, they're not random or sporadic. These signals seem to be corresponding to external stimuli. They're deliberate, and they are consistent and resemble patterns, frequencies that you see in human speech patterns. And they're able to test it and encourage some responses from different external stimuli. So they believe they've discovered 15 words that mushrooms use to communicate each other through these frequencies.
Wow. So, I wonder what kind of mushrooms they were on when they did the experiment.
So now the next level of that study is going to be testing if mushrooms have some form of low-level intelligence or sentience that you would expect from something like a squid or a dolphin, or that understands like essentially has a learning system or like an internal learning system that would eventually lead to higher brain functionality.
Wow.
So mushrooms may be sentient. It's cool and terrifying when you think about it.
I was gonna say, obviously I came from a small town and we had like ag classes, and I could not sleep for 2 weeks when I learned that some plants actually scream when you cut them. We just can't hear it.
Yep.
I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks, and even when I broke a tree limb, I still say sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mushrooms getting higher than that. I can't think.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. So mushrooms, they talk.
Well, they keep on putting studies out like this. We won't be able to kill animals or cut down trees for houses. So it'll be one more reason not to cut down trees and do mushrooms.
Yeah. Are you doing the mushroom, or is the mushroom doing you?
That's right. Yeah, so you're thinking, let's go get some shrooms, and they're thinking, hey, let's go get some humans.
Yes.
Listen, it will get to that point that you need mushroom consent.
Yes.
It will get to that point.
The mushrooms, they ride you like a host.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the traditional icebreaker we do around here is we talk about what we have So we actually got a suggestion last week, which I kind of like, which is what's on your playlist for the name of the block, I guess. And that is whatever you've been reading, watching, playing, listening to, otherwise ingesting media-wise throughout the week or somewhat recently, just so that the audience at home and the listeners can get a feel for what we like and what sort of media we understand, but also so they can do some digging in and understand that everything is pastiche. Everything we create is in some way regurgitation of everything we consumed. So it's kind of fun to see the trail go from point A to point B. So we'll start with Mackenzie. What have you been? What's been on your playlist this week or month or however long?
Oh gosh, when people ask about my playlist, like my playlist, you know that like friend that you get in the car with and you have no idea what's gonna come on, and it like you have to be able to jam to anything because it will go from like Disney to country.
I'll go ahead and tell you you're in the right place.
Yeah,
because we are like that. Yes.
Yeah, that is my playlist. I will there's no in between. It will be from Disney to country to rap to everything. So whenever anyone asks me my playlist, I have the most random playlist. But I will say, if I get like an idea, I'm one of those people that if I get like not even an idea, like a character in my head, I'll try to like listen to songs that I think relate to the character I'm building. So like I can't say for certain that this week or even this month like I've been listening to anything in particular, because I feel like I've been trying to build so many worlds at once with, so much creativity going on in my life right now that like I can't even pinpoint anything, because like you just said, you take things in and kind of spew your own out. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I couldn't even name one thing because I've just been like from 1 hour to the next, something different.
Sure.
That's absolutely true. One thing that I always do, if I listen to music, I listen to what I am feeling, because I have noticed, and this is not just true for me, it's true for most everyone. If you just listen to music all the time, it really does play with your emotions. It does something. Me, if I am feeling like, hey, I got to get a bunch of work done, then I got to have some high tempo. If I'm just kind of in some thought and pondering, I want to hear, stuff that's going to, help me do that. So I try to control the music and not let the music control me. So there's no telling what I'll listen to at all. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same way.
Understandable. I have severe. I have severe ADHD, but I also have severe musical ADHD. But recently, last Friday, Meshuggah, Islander, and Glasslands all put out new albums, so I've been blasting all of those. And those are all Meshuggah is classically known as gent, but it's progressive death metal. Glasslands metalcore. Islander is kind of a fun, like, it's kind of like the next elevation of POD in that it's like skate metal. It's the next, if you go from like basic punk rock, POD, heavier music, Islanders in between that. But I've been going between that and glitch hop jazz fusion, like Tut Tut Child. So my car,
child.
Yes. So my car has been going from saxophone and trumpet to just mind-breaking riffs at 180 BPM.
Yes. And that's the way it should be.
Oh yeah. All right. What have we all been watching recently? Mackenzie, we're gonna start with you.
Oh gosh. Well, my mom and I today, I guess we were watched what's that? The Turning Red. We just watched that movie because she's been seeing all the controversy on Facebook, and she's like, I have to see this movie. So we watched that today. Gosh, honest to God, I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, I couldn't even tell you anything else I've watched beyond that.
Yeah.
It was a nice.
I'm always that way too, but I always remember 30 minutes later after he asks.
I know that. Like, I was like, ask me in 30 minutes. Oh, my mom wanted to watch that. See, it's always my mom. Like, my mom was watching. Did you see that we just watched yesterday night that Spencer movie? With Kristen Stewart.
I've been meaning to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I was like, thank
Long
you.
story short, it was terrible.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't like. Kristen Stewart did really good. I just didn't. I didn't think it was written that well. Honest to God. But you know, that's the great thing about entertainment. It speaks to some people and doesn't speak to others. So yeah. But like I said, ask me in a half hour and I might be able to tell you anything else I watched, because let me tell you, it's just been HGTV on a house.
Oh, sure.
So like, it's like really random if we get a movie right now, because we're all living in the same room with the house renovations. So it's like, pick your poison.
So y'all are stuck in the same room with the same media and everything then going on, huh?
Yeah. So like the only two other rooms is like my childhood bedroom, which I'm in right now. So like, I at least get my bedroom, my mom's office, which is also tiny, and then we're all down in the basement, which is like a family room with a bathroom. Our kitchen is down there, our living room's down there, my parents are sleeping down there. It's great.
Mr. Tommy.
That's for Tommy.
Mr. Tommy.
Quentin, what have you been watching? Or
I haven't really watched much, but I did watch Moon Knight, the next episode. So I'm real excited to get to the next one tomorrow
as well. Yeah.
I'm really pleased with it so far.
They have two out, yeah, but
they have two. Yeah. Tomorrow the next one drops. So I'm real excited about that. Other than that, I don't know if the rumors are true. I do know that AT&T did. It is official that Discovery now has Warner Brothers, DC, and all that. And the rumors around the rumor mill is that they are doing. Now, don't quote me on this. This is just the talk. They're going to do the Snyderverse Justice League 2. Now, do your own looking it up. Look it up. Supposedly, they're going forward with it, which I was just down just a couple days ago thinking, we're just not going to ever have any of that again. But evidently, they're looking into it and they're trying to go at it with the plan this time instead of, the way they've kind of been doing stuff. So, I'm real excited about that. I haven't really watched. I think I said last week that I had watched something. I can't remember. I was going to go see Morbius. Has anybody seen Morbius?
I have not.
I just keep hearing conflicting
heard a few
accounts.
of my friends went, and they, Jared Leto unfortunately got what they said was the worst DC movie and the worst Marvel movie. I liked Suicide Squad, so I can't say much. But like, I did hear.
I know a lot of people that love Suicide Squad.
I honestly, don't get me wrong. I saw its flaws, but I loved it.
I thought it had its moments, but for me, OG Suicide Squad, I hit in a different way. Whereas the new one, I love because it feels like this is what I wanted from the movie. Whereas other ones, I'm like, this is I watch this in the same way that I watch Shaq's Steel when that is.
We had to get it once this show. We had to get it. Every show Shaq's Steel comes up.
If that was on your bingo card, please mark it off this week.
Yeah.
I can get into it.
I'm gonna make it my goal to bring up Hayden Christensen every week then.
Absolutely. Do it. Yes.
Hey,
yeah, it's gonna be my goal.
Tim has his with Shaq Steel. I don't know what mine is, but I'm sure there's something. Maybe I'll start doing mushrooms. Or no, not doing them. Not doing them. Start mentioning them.
It's coming next week, and Quinn's in his chair.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
I can see the audio feed.
Yeah.
I think yours might be G.I. Joe. I don't know.
I think maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Maybe G.I. Joe action figures. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But Man, where were we on that?
So I haven't really watched anything. Tim,
Yes.
have you watched anything this past week? Aside from Moon Knight, I haven't watched anything. By the way, the figures have been revealed for the Moon Knight, but they're not coming out till later. Also, the figures for Thor: Love and Thunder have come out.
Ooh.
So I've got to see some of the characters that's going to be in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the God Killer yet. Christian Bale's character.
Yeah.
He looks quite a bit different from what you see in the comics, but who knows?
Plus, I don't know exactly how they were able to do it like 1-to-1 from the comics.
You know, I wouldn't want them to do that because
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not 100% satisfied with the character design that they went with, but that's the kind of thing I do. Just like y'all talk about whenever you watch a movie, you talk about the writing and the pacing and all that kind of stuff. I kind of on a level
you look at the
do
character
that,
design. Yeah.
but I don't pick it out like y'all do. But when I see, I'm more visual. So character designs, set designs, you know, I really pay attention to that kind of stuff. And a lot of times I can kind of gloss over some of the plot devices and stuff, you know, if the visuals are good enough.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Although Halo, whenever they took his mask off, that'll be mine. That'll be mine every week. I'll talk about Halo taking the Master Chief's helmet off. That was not a good story. They shouldn't have done that. But anyway, let's not.
Yes, I feel
like that. But like just adding on to that, like, see, I can usually. It is funny because like where that's your thing, like that again, like you said, that's probably like I go off about pacing and like I'll be like, okay, how many beats are they putting in like this and all of that, like. But there are some characters, you know, that either I'm aware of, like there's every so often there is that moment.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a good example is like Aquaman when they cast Jason Momoa. I didn't really care. I was like, that's a better fit because, you know, let's be honest, Aquaman wasn't the, you know, the most
Aryan race.
Yeah. So like I was like, okay, I get that can do it. However, like there's been some other casting where I was like, what was the vision here?
like Jason Momoa all the way since Stargate Atlantis when I first saw him. So I was for the first time. Usually when I hear of castings, I'm like, no way, that'll never work, and then I get surprised and I'm okay with it. But with Jason Momoa, I'll give him a chance in anything.
Yeah.
You know, because he's good.
I forgot his name. It's just kind of a shame, but the actor they cast to play Gilgamesh in the Eternals. I thought that was a really good choice, given that he looks nothing like the design in the comics, but just the physicality that he carries as an actor, especially coming from a martial arts background, is very dope.
Yeah, for sure. And like I feel like now, like when I worked in you know, the entertainment industry out in Los Angeles, like I was like I got to see casting, I got to fit into it. So sometimes like when I see those casting calls and see the casting sheets and all that, sometimes I do say like, okay, I don't see it or something like that. But sometimes like I try to give it the benefit of the doubt because I know sometimes actors walk in and they have a charisma that fits the character that, you know, an actor that looks like them never could. So, you know, there's been like anything else, there's been times where it's like, yes, this is amazing, I'm so glad. And other times where I was like, this was a train wreck from the start. So really just pick your poison.
Watching wise for me, it's just been Moon Knight. I watched the first episode of Halo. I need to catch up on that. But yeah, it's been I've been busy pushing paperwork over here and not really watching film, but working on stuff to create video content. For those of you who don't know, I also work on a channel called Tabletop Collective, where we do tabletop board games and all that. And for that, we need to prepare and paint miniature armies. So I've been doing that all week, working on, actually, let's get the box out instead of the actual mini because they're very tiny. They're 28 millimeter base, but preparing some British Airborne for bolt action.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
So I've been
camouflage is what I see.
Oh yeah, that's because they have to do the British pattern DPM on their suits, and like for something that's this tiny, that's gonna be a
Time sink.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare. But mostly I've just been having like the Great War History series playing, or even like putting on like live shows of concerts and just letting like the recordings play in the background while I've been working on stuff. So it's just been a lot of sniffing glue and huffing paint over here. Lots of acrylics in the nostril.
No mushrooms, though.
No
Yeah,
mushrooms.
no mushrooms.
All right. Okay, next one is playing wise. Mackenzie, do you play games at all, board or video or anything in between? What have you been up to?
Well, like I said, usually my go-to like relaxation game is Red Dead Redemption. I'm like, if I need to go relax, I'm going to watch that or going to play that. So like, that's my go-to. However, like, over the past it wasn't so much this weekend, but like last weekend, I was like, I just need something, and like Star Wars is my go-to for like relaxation, and I played the Darth Vader VR game system, like because just being able to like immerse myself in that world and just pretend like that is real for like an hour or two, just like takes my stress away. So I did play that the other week. Not much beyond those two, though.
Right. I am glad to have another Star Wars cultist on the show, though. I
love it.
Several things, but
almost see it. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of angling myself in tiny frame.
I could like spin you around my room. Yeah, I'm like literally, nerd.
Quentin, what have you been up to playing wise?
When I did play, I played DayZ with a friend of mine. I've told you in the past. He's we play that game. It's not DayZ the standalone game. It's DayZ the Arma 2 mod.
Yeah.
They don't even call it the standalone anymore because it's nobody even really knows anymore about the Arma 2 mod. What I did do is finally go and trade in a bunch of stuff, and I was able to and I had a lot to trade in. I was like setting up a shop and selling stuff on eBay, and I decided that my budget would become for my collecting, my budget would become selling and getting rid of stuff all the time and gaining stuff, new stuff that I wanted. That way the room would not get overfilled, and I'd have a budget and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, with the $600 rule, when that came down, I had to quit selling. So a few things had mounted up, and when I say a few, it's a few. It's quite a bit. So I found this store in San Angelo, Texas here, and I was actually able to go trade in some stuff. And let me show you some of the pickups that I made. Now, these are some that I've been waiting on for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I just don't like this. I don't like man buns. I don't
just
like
cut it off.
That's
what I told my wife. I said, I'm gonna cut that off.
That's what I'm rocking in the office though. I let it out after work, but
let's see if y'all can name them as I put them up. Now, this is a Gamerverse. You might not get this one.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
This is the Gamerverse Abomination.
Okay, because it's saying like it's Abomination E, but he's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, he usually has his fins on his head.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can get this one.
Absorbing Man?
Yep, you got
it. There you go.
Let's see.
Oh, I actually don't know that one.
And you guys in the chat, if you know it, put it up there.
That's isn't that Arnim Zola?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Tim, you're good. Now we're really getting into. Well, let me show these first. Now that I did Arnim Zola. Let's.
Oh, yeah, that's Taskmaster, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's Taskmaster.
One of the best villains. Didn't do too well.
I don't know why that guy's not like. I don't know why he's not bigger. I mean, he is awesome. and we know who that is.
Yeah.
And I got two more, and this is right up your alley, Tim. Right up your alley. We know who that is.
Oh, yeah. That's Access Magneto.
Onslaught.
Onslaught. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Onslaught. Yeah. No,
The guy who absorbs people, and he has their abilities after that, or mutants anyway.
Yeah, no, if you look at Access Magneto, it looks very similar. But yes,
come on, you know who that is?
That's Mr. Apocalypse.
Yeah,
Instabanur.
The
chosen salvation.
This is the best one. This is the best one. But anyway, I was able to trade all that stuff in. I got that. I did make a few more pickups. I don't know if anybody ever watched this show, but I absolutely love this show.
Gargoyles. Oh yeah,
it's on Disney Plus. I love that one.
Yes. She looks so good.
Oh, I love it.
Yep. And I got Goliath over here too. I got him a couple weeks ago.
And I believe scripts for a limited series revival have been passed around, so I'm not sure if they've actually been
I hope so.
Approved, but yeah.
If they don't get the guy, what's the guy's name that did the voice of Goliath? He did the voice of Spawn. He played in
it's not
Red Dawn. He played in the Scorsese. I can't remember. But anyway, if they don't get him, man, he's got to do the voice. But anyway, I've made a few more pickups. I got Astrakhan, the demon.
Isn't that like Keith David?
Yes. Yeah, Keith David. I just looked it up.
He's awesome.
He's so good.
His
I
voice.
know it's like two first names.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I should have a pen name for my art that has two first names or two last names. Let's do something totally different and have two last names.
I'm still not over when you sent like the first draft of like the comic we do together, and it was like Cousin Eddie. You like did all these random names.
The credits.
That was ours.
Yes.
Yep.
I had to shorten my pen name to 3 syllables because trying to ask for something by Timotheus Tyson Melgela might be a little bit of a mouthful.
Good. A lot of T's. A lot of T's.
Yeah. A lot of T's, lots of K's. Just kind of throw it all together.
I really wanted a pen name, and I was like dead set on it when I came out of when I was coming out of college. I was like, I want a pen name. I knew what I was gonna do, and it was like, it wasn't so much anything shorter. It was just like enough to distinguish between the two. And I was like, I'm taking my grandfather's name, which is my mom's maiden name, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna write with. But like, oh my god, I had so much stuff already out and done by the time I came out of college. It was like, I don't know, I felt like it was gonna be like a record of my career if I just like changed it then, because I had so much already. I wish I would have like had like I'd done something to do it, because I still regret not doing it, but I feel like it's too late now.
You know what I've always wondered is if anchor people and weathermen, if they have pen names, because they have the coolest.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like when you hear their names, it's like that is an anchor man's name or an anchor woman's name. Yeah.
There's that
being right at the moment, but
there's a guy, I believe he was on CBS, but he's kind of a famous nighttime narrator. But what's his name, like Shadow Johnson or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing wise for me, when I have time, I've been getting destroyed in Elden Ring. The most recent Souls game, which is very good.
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But what's your review of it? You like it? Is it Souls?
Best Soulsborne game.
Oh boy.
Period. Some people like Bloodborne a little bit more, but I was never a PlayStation person, so Bloodborne never really was my jam. So being a PC player is always all the Souls games, and then this one now is just very, very good.
Well, I will have to check into it then.
Yes, yeah.
And what did you play it on? I don't even know what platforms it's on.
I'm playing on Steam on my PC right now. But I believe it's on PC and all consoles.
All right.
Other than that,
PlayStation has me so whipped. I wouldn't be able to change now.
Yeah.
It's like your first gaming console, like
Mhm.
and that's what happened. I just can't do it.
Yeah. My first gaming console was actually PlayStation 1. I was PlayStation up until PlayStation 3, and then transitioned, but I always had the Xbox because the Halo series had me, and then Halo 3 was such just a grabber that I just moved on over to Xbox and then Gears, and
the only reason that I got after I started PC gaming, the only reason I got any consoles after that was just because of exclusive titles that I couldn't play on PC. Man, you can do so much on PC. You can mod, certain games, and I mean, it's so cool. You can like give new life, like Skyrim. I bought that game 4 times for 4 different platforms, but PC definitely by far. I mean, because they were putting out all these Game of the Year versions and remastered and all that with mods. You could do all that stuff before they even ever put it out. So.
That's like the only reason I would ever like consider going to PC is because like see what you said. Ask a question, you think 10 minutes later. I love Skyrim. Like that's my other go-to just to relax. And it's like you can't do mods on PlayStation, and then you kind of just get stuck and have to buy and have to update. And it's like if I just
for me, outside of PC is usually PlayStation though. Now, for a long time, it was PlayStation exclusively because they didn't charge for online, but then they started charging online. But I kind of forgave them a little bit because at the time, Xbox was doing some shady stuff with, you can't borrow your friends' games, and they were saying all that stuff. Y'all remember that debacle?
Oh yeah.
But anyway. But now I haven't got an Xbox One. I don't have a PlayStation 5. I'm still PS4, and I get on PS4 from time to time. I do have a Switch and the PC game, and I haven't really done a lot of gaming in general. So I've been doing so much work and stuff. I haven't had time.
Yeah. The other thing that kept me on PlayStation for as long as it was the Metal Gear Solid series. So I played Metal Gear Solid 3 or 2 completion, then I played 5 on Xbox, but that one was available. But the only other thing that we have had time to do actually was for my birthday this Saturday, we went to Coin Jam, which is our local barcade. Just a couple blocks down from the Taproot here, which has the best Sazerac in town. Very proud of their bartender for nailing the Sazerac. So that's my go-to drink there. So went there, went to Coin Jam, and we just played cabinets all night. And my show and tell for the week for the last time on the show when I featured something that I won in a claw machine at Coin Jam, it was Cable. For those who remember.
Good old Cable.
This time we got Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Oh yes. Hey, there's rumors floating around that McFarlane's fixing to do the 80s Batman line with Mr. Freeze, Riddler, Two-Face. If he does, man, I will buy those figures if he does that.
For sure. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've had time to play. Did come
you should have told me we were doing show and tell. I got so many antiques last week.
Your show and tells are bigger than life size, though. I know what your show and tells are. Your show and tells are like.
On Sunday, I was like, Roland's like, come in. And I was like, okay. And I don't know if you guys saw, but I had to bring one of my dinosaurs into my house because there was nowhere else for me to fix her. And there was nowhere else for me to chime in. And I was like, I sat trying to hide the dinosaur, but at a point, I don't know what made her move, but her head looked like she was grabbing me. And I was like, oh, this isn't going well.
Seeing your. I don't. My problem is I don't really get on Facebook a whole lot. But when I get on, there's a few places I go, and one of them is to your post because they're always interested. But I love dinosaurs, so I mean, I just think they're awesome.
Well, thank you. One day you'll probably see them. They'll chime in.
For
Maybe
viewers,
I'll log in from my garage.
yeah, for viewers
Viewers
who
who-
don't know, for anybody who's watching that don't know, would you tell them what you do? That
Oh yeah.
or is this something that you wanted to do later, Tim?
No, absolutely, it's a good time.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about it. I'll be right back.
Well,
Go ahead,
go. He's running away. He doesn't want to hear the story.
No, just go for it.
In addition to writing for Fabulous Silverline and other freelancing jobs that I do, I also own a company named Pennsylvania Dinosaurs, which I travel the East Coast with life-size animatronic dinosaurs and, do all sorts of events. So that's my fun of, the last few years is traveling around with dinosaurs.
Perfect. And you also
scaring people.
Yes. Is it like primarily a spectacle thing, or do you also attach like educational element to that, or sometimes both?
Well, I'm gonna say it started out more like birthday party type things.
Yeah.
Then it started to go into more like corporate.
Mhm.
The last year was a lot more birthdays, and 2 years before COVID anyway. Coming back, it was a lot of birthdays, but we have like educational programs that we do with them, than just regular corporate things. I mean, you name it, I've probably done it already.
Sure.
My favorite, my absolute, well, I shouldn't say absolute. One of my favorite was doing the Smithsonian. They did a night at the museum
Oh yeah.
event, and they closed the museum. It was from like 10 to 1 in the morning.
Mhm.
And it was like suit and tie dress, and it was the Smithsonian, and we got to like be in the underground parts of the Smithsonian. We got to see it, things that people never get to see. We had to be escorted everywhere, but it was like such an amazing experience. That was probably one of my favorite.
Now, when you say corporate, I'm imagining something like, "Hey, congratulations on making a partner, Brian. We got you a dinosaur."
We've done like prank videos for corporate.
Okay.
We've done like family days. We've done like I said, you name it, we've probably done it. I'm sure we've done that before. Brian, you have a promotion. Here's a dinosaur.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah,
kind of like one of those dancing grams, huh?
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Speaking of historical education, here's something that only the people here will get. And Aaron, if he's watching at home, the answer was Poltava. That's your trivia for the night. Battle of Poltava was the.
I even like I used to be on a trivia team, so as soon as you said trivia, I was like, oh, and I was like, I feel like I've heard this one before, and I was like, I think it begins with like a P or a B. And I was like, I'm gonna think of it, and I couldn't, and I refused to look it up because usually I wake up in the middle of the night.
Right, it comes to you.
It. Well, now you just told it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen while we move on to the next. That way we got some art going.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to share our screen here when we get into the writing part.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into breaking a story. So
breaking a story.
Yes. So sometimes it is, as the thumbnail suggests, in that you are horribly breaking something and like, oh no, this no longer works. I've created so many plot holes. But when you're breaking a story, it comes because you're breaking it into parts or into beats. And usually that's your first step in writing, is you get an idea for a summary, or you get an idea for a synopsis, or what the general arc is going to be, and that can usually be told through a log line. So the very first thing you're going to do when you get to actually break out the story and write it in the first part is, what is the story you're telling in the first place? So kind of like how we did me learning how to ink as a group exercise. we're gonna break a story as a group exercise. So especially comics, but a lot of stories are character driven. Sometimes they are plot driven, but especially comics, they are character driven. And the most important character is your protagonist, because the protagonist needs to protag. So does anyone have an idea for a protagonist or a hero character that we could put into a story?
Mushroom Kevin.
Mushroom Kevin. All right.
Good one.
Yes. All right.
Boy, she's quick too.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. That's the vibe we need here. How should I up the zoomage on here?
Unless you want to see my face like this.
Yeah. That's not how you spell protagonist, but that's all right. That's what all characters for.
Protagonist.
Protagonist.
There you go. Protagonist.
Protag. Person who acts. There's your Latin lesson for the day. And so typically you end up getting a villain that is their mirror, that is their usually your hero has some sort of defining moral or emotional feature to them, and the villain is the flip side of that. Either they've gone a step too far, they share the same goal, they've taken the wrong path of going about it, and that gives you more of a sympathetic hero, or they're more just like a flip end of that, where you see a lot of traditional stories where it was like someone's the epitome of being gregarious, other one's the epitome of greed, what have you. But usually that comes after you might get an idea if you have a really cool visual for your villain. Like, I know exactly the kind of bad guy I want to beat the crap of my hero with. But sometimes it comes after creating the conflict or the understanding the path that your heroes come through. Like, what path would then lead back into their moral feature or their moral failing, and what villain would then be a nice heel to that. At least that's the way I kind of think about it. Mackenzie, is there any particular way you think about creating the journey first, or the villain next, or how do you think about that?
I've learned, and I'm going to explain it like this. I feel that I am building myself to be a successful writer. I've done a lot of things. People seem to like my ideas. But when I first went to college for writing, I believed straight-heartedly I was going to fail, because everyone around me thought so differently than me. And even sitting here, I don't think there's a right and a wrong way to write. Like, you speaking, that's your way of writing, and maybe a lot of I write completely different.
Sure.
And it's not a wrong and right way.
No.
I might. And I wouldn't say necessarily I shouldn't say necessarily I always write different than what you're saying, but sometimes I just think of a plot, and then I think, okay, now I need to throw characters into this. Or I might think of a villain, or I might even be writing another story and throw a character in and fall in love with that character and realize after developing that, I don't need this character, but I fall in love with them. So I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to pull these story elements out of this story and this character, and I'm going to throw it into a new story and see what I can do with it.
Yeah.
So I'm a juggler, so to speak. And if I don't consider myself an artist, but if I'll doodle things. I'll try to get something, some kind, whether it be the visual elements that are different versus necessarily what you're saying when you're they'll have qualities. Maybe I'll do a little more visual things while I'm doodling, just try to getting it down. So I wouldn't say I'm always different, but like I said, I kind of do things backwards. Like I said, most of the time I'm getting plots down, or I'll get secondary characters down far before I get my main characters. But like I said, it's all part of the process. It's whatever. Honestly, it's whatever works. And as you know, any writing is rewriting. So it's just you see what works, and you might have to change things. And some of these characters that you even write down, like Mushroom Kevin, once you start developing,
once you get the plot, you may need entirely revised.
You may need a completely different character, or you may go oh, I like my secondary character more. I mean, it's all just this huge process. And like I said, it's not that different when you're rewriting film, or the same across the board when
Yeah.
it comes to this. So, like I said, my process is a little backwards.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, like I said, there's moments where it is similar. It's just there isn't a wrong way.
Right. Yeah, definitely. There isn't really. This is just kind of the way that when I think about doing like hard pre-writing, this is what comes to mind first. Is just throwing it all together at once and then going through and the best the whereas we covered the entire tool of Clip Studio 2 weeks ago. The most important tool you need as a writer in a HelloFest TV is no, typically not. I mean, I guess there might be some person. I guess there are a lot of comics that actually do feature broken marriages. But yeah, typically I don't. But when I was writing Wolf Hunter, the first thing that came to mind was the plot first, and then I created Willard after that, and then revised a little bit of the plot. And then I guess I can talk about it now because it got announced. But Soul Ascendant, I had the character first. I had Invictus in mind first, being a Roman demigod, and then the plot kind of came from that of making it more sci-fi and space epic.
Yeah.
So there's definitely no real wrong way of doing it, and definitely as a writer, you're probably gonna bounce around between doing both. And yeah, like I said, the best tool you're gonna need as a writer is rewriting and the backspace or the cut button.
And I always say people tend to think writing is really easy, but writing is the bones of everything. Like Quentin being an artist, he can't draw until we write. And and if the bones aren't sturdy, nothing built on top of it is going to be sturdy. So you need to and it sounds really dumb, but at this process as well, you're thinking about, the larger story, and sometimes that can harm you. Sometimes you need to build the character first. So like you need to make the character believable. You need to sit down, and we look at Mushroom Kevin and we're like, oh, the story isn't flowing. Okay, what's Kevin's favorite color? What's his mother's name? Like things that you wouldn't even think were important, but the audience at the end of the day is going to think is believable. And like I said, maybe someone that comes in is going to be like, well, that's unimportant. We don't need to write that. It's really important. You need that sturdiness to build the rest of the story on.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes they're just saying stuff. Two tools that I will recommend getting are the what's it called? The Writers Helping Writers Thesaurus package. Which, if you're just looking over them, you're like, what do I need? You just need obviously don't copy and paste from it because that's kind of lazy. But going through and just trying to fill your brain with ideas is very helpful because they have a full set of stuff on positive trait thesaurus, words describing traits. What do they mean? How do they present themselves?
I think every writer has those books. It's amazing. I know they must have course, yeah. They're literally right there.
And they're very helpful because there's something that's okay, why isn't Kevin working the scene his negative trait isn't as well defined as it should be to really create drama in the scene? So you go through and you look at how do these negative traits present themselves, and which one should I add or how should I expand on it? Yeah. So, and typically also if you're working in a breaking setting, especially working in a team, someone probably already came up with the initial pitch. Like if we're doing this in a TV setting, the showrunner would have already pitched the idea to the network, and the network hired on the seasonal writers to come on and say, "Hey, we need to write 15 episodes. The showrunner is running 1, 7, and 15. We need you guys to film the space in between." And so that's when you'd be breaking it down. So you already have a character, some summary, and all that stuff. You just be kind of filling in the plot points between.
Yeah.
But for this case, we are creating something entirely new together. So if we were looking at plot first, kind of thinking of okay, I have this idea for Mushroom Kevin, which is a great name for a character. How would I fit him into a story? What kind of story fits that?
Sorry, not to jump on TV. I think this is really important because right now what we're doing, we're 3 creatives coming up with this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of things that people miss is you feel like you have to get everything perfect the first try, and you think you can't reach out to other people because you're like, oh, it's my story. Like, even for writing my comic, I wrote the first draft, and it was yes, I got that out, and I had to develop it farther. And I remember I like texted Quentin, and I was like, hey, this is where I'm at. And he even just like did a couple doodles, and we threw ideas back and forth, and that's what got it flowing and where it's at now.
Yeah, so that's invaluable.
Yeah, what we're doing now is exactly what people do, you know, and should do.
Yes. It's weird for comics because it's more of a prose thing. But for my scripts, I do have a set of alpha readers that before it even goes to editorial, I'm like, all right, is this a story? Like,
yeah,
are these words?
Well, and like as the creator, like I always say, like that script is our baby. Like, so like sometimes we like how parents can't see the flaws of children. Sometimes we can't see the flaws of our writing. Yeah. So sometimes other eyes will be like, hey, and sometimes it's tough. Like the hardest thing for me, and it was more for script writing than it was for necessarily comic writing.
Right.
Was kill your darlings.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? That sounds violent. And it's like, you really do have to learn that. Like sometimes things don't fit. Sometimes things you love need to get cut. And that was a very hard lesson to learn.
And go ahead, Quentin.
I was just gonna say, you know, as far as like being too close to something, and sometimes it takes other eyes to see things that you don't see because you have an insight on the story that anybody else won't have because it's coming from your brain and you are churning all this stuff and putting it out there. And to you, it all seems perfect, you know, because you've got it all in your head. But you know, for the average person that just comes along and reads the story, they don't understand some stuff. So it's really good to get somebody else's take. In the art side of it, with me, I am staring at this stuff so hard. Like right now, I'm drawing a building, and I am now working on a window. And see, I am putting every line that you see in this is going to be something that my hand did. Obviously.
Yeah.
But you see, my having to pay attention to such details, sometimes I can lose sight of everything because of those details. So I have to walk away and come back, and sometimes I have to get somebody to look at it and say, hey, well, you know, what do you think about this? And, you know, sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to have somebody outside. It always just works better if you have somebody. You know, if you're in a collaborative mode, it just helps a lot.
Getting lost in the interior of Episcopalian chapel.
Yep. Yes. Wolf Hunter and their chapels.
The amount of facades in the traditional architectural term, not in the classical writing term, that is now featured in Wolf Hunter's short and also in the primary issue, I realized it's quite ridiculous. There's quite a lot of masonry and windows that get featured. That I'm sure.
When you say what was the name of that place? Something in the fields.
Yeah, St. Martin's in the Fields. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no other way to do that place. I mean, that place is just so elaborate. Everything from that time period is so elaborate. I mean, there's no fudging that stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
No, I give you that, but also I gave you the exterior of the BBC, which at that point had just been hit by a mine, an airdropped mine. So we had to get that right as well.
Yeah, and see that is the difference between drawing something out of your brain, you know, out of your fantasy, and drawing a real place, you know. And when I'm drawing fantasy, I'm like, well, in this world, there's not all this, you know, elaborate stuff. But when you say, you know, someplace like that, you know, you're talking about 40s or 30s England. Holy moly, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Hey, man. Anyway, so kind of going from this point forward, you might look Mackenzie Martin, do you have an idea for a plot in mind? I might have ideas I want to inject. So looking at this from a plot, like where, like if we're just thinking like, man, I have an idea for Mushroom Kevin. I like him as a character. I want to put him in something. Because who doesn't want to have a story about a stony skateboarder? So you might look at like, well, what does kind of make sense for a setting or like a natural like plot point? If you don't have like the natural like plot, you might just start like defining the setting, his surroundings, and a plot might come to you from that. Or if you have an idea like, oh, I already have an idea for a conflict that works great for him to overcome. Either one. So kind of we'll play here. Do you think we should work on defining the setting more or defining the plot here?
Well, I might go a little bit away from that before we jump to that.
Sure.
Let's get down, like, who is Kevin?
Who is Kevin? Yeah.
Who is Kevin? Let's figure out who Kevin is first.
Yeah. Sure.
And necessarily we don't need all of that because that will also come when we place him somewhere and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what's Kevin's age? What does Kevin do? What is Kevin? Is Kevin a mushroom? Is he a stoner skateboarder?
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet, so I don't know where to place him.
Well, do you want mushroom? Do you want Kevin to be an actual mushroom, or do you want?
That'd be cool.
No, I okay, so like I want to place him first, but like my childlike brain automatically went to Kevin is a skateboarder and Kevin eats magic mushrooms that make him, he's usually a terrible skateboarder, but he eats the magic mushrooms and becomes a really great skateboarder. Okay. That's immediately what my brain came up with.
Mario does it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Perfect. And it goes back to my favorite Marvel character, Combo Man. Who got the assortment of who got the power of every Marvel character by eating Combo's baked snacks.
Oh gee.
This is an actual character that existed.
Wait, it's canon?
Yes. Marvel had a deal with Combo Snacks in the 90s, and they created a character called Combo Man. And I can't remember exactly the breakdown, but I know that he had like the upper chest of Captain America and the lower chest of Punisher was like specifically mentioned. And he had someone else's abdominals. Like,
shut up.
So you can look up Combo Man Marvel and you get a very fun dive on that.
Well, I don't know if this will add to your story, but I think a really cool thing to do is like have I like stories with gimmicks. What if you had Mushroom Kevin and he was an actual mushroom like you were talking about, and he's a skateboarder and he's just this regular character, but nobody really realizes that he's a mushroom. Like they just go about it like he's just a regular kid. But whenever you're drawing the story, he is the visualization of him is a mushroom. I think that would be funny. It'd be a little weird, but funny.
It'd be weird but funny.
And so, I mean, this happens a lot in writers' rooms too, where you might get ideas for two conflicting things. And this early on, we don't necessarily want to rule anything out. We're going to be kind of like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, see what sticks.
Yeah, so
you get a lot. Bad idea.
Well, because we don't even know if it's going to be a comedy yet. This could be something very sad.
This could be a horror.
Yes, Mushroom Kevin.
Kevin actually puts or gives people mushrooms and then eats them.
That's pretty good.
And so you might get a lot of these fat ors put in the all over your document. Because you're like, well, this is an idea. This is also an idea. What if Mushroom Kevin was a mushroom skateboarder? We had another friend who was a pretty terrible skateboarder, and instead of learning from Kevin, had to eat magic mushrooms to become better at skateboarding. And it becomes this huge moral dilemma for Kevin as he watches his friend consume mushrooms, which we now know are sentient.
Yeah.
So this is like a sausage party mushroom mix without. Yeah.
This is something that Seth Rogen would play in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
put undetected mushroom. Because it's a word we need. Also, the simpler you can get these descriptions, the better, because you just want references you don't want to be overloading your brain early on. That's just rule of thumb.
Listen, if you don't make his love interest a gnome after what we've discussed today,
Yes.
And if you don't have a fancy pants Word document, you go to Staples and spend $10. All right. Okay. So,
did you hear the? Hold on. Did you hear the story about my idea board?
No.
So this is mine, and I kept on coming home, and it was erased, and everyone kept on telling me it was not them. And I kept on rewriting it, and it kept on getting erased. And I was like, who is doing this? I kept on moving it because I was like, am I walking by it? And I woke up one morning to like this sound of, I look up and one of my cats is erasing all the lines. I was horrified.
I would be too.
So I don't think you should go the dry erase route if you have animals.
Yes, yeah. I have a cork board, several pens, and a bunch of 3x5s.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cats will rub against it, but they can't actually destroy it.
Your cat's a spy sent out to mess you up. That's what it is.
You're probably right.
Could be.
Oh yeah. All right, so we have two ideas for who Kevin might be: a skateboarder who eats magic mushrooms to become better at skateboarding, or an actual mushroom who is undetected in his being a mushroom that skateboards and shares a love interest in a garden gnome.
Does he murder, or are we cutting that one?
I'd
say let's stay open to it.
Let's stay open to murder. Okay, we're gonna get another or, and this one's just gonna say murder.
He feeds people mushrooms to murder them.
Okay.
Maybe he murders them by getting them on mushrooms. He's like, you know why I'm such a good skateboarder? Because I do mushrooms. Try some. They're necrotizing fasciitis mushrooms.
I want you to know I would not be coming up with these ideas if it was not 12:22 in the morning my time.
That's prime writing time right there. All right.
There's an audience for this type of story.
It's me. This is
and it's me.
Yeah. I told you, like, when up until Department of Truth came out, my favorite story was curse words. My favorite comic was curse words because it is just so out there, bizarro magic that it's like bohemian hipster culture with the demonic invasions and a weird love interest. The being taught and the mentor figure is a magical koala.
Koala.
It's a great time. All right. So we have a couple ideas here for who Kevin might be. Skateboarder who eats magic mushrooms, undetected mushroom, for a garden gnome, or someone who feeds people mushrooms to murder them, possibly poison mushrooms, necrotizing mushrooms, rot mushrooms. So we kind of building up the ideas here. Like, this might be some sort of comedy, horror, psychedelic thriller, all of the above, a little of each. Are we leaning any more into any one particular way, or do you think we need more understanding of what each person might be? Like,
well, what I kind of go with is, like, we at least, I'm assuming, all three, like, what all three have in common. We know we want Kevin to have an interest in skateboarding.
Yes.
Now, beyond that, we either have to pick a genre or create a second character which will influence which genre, because if we create our second character, he's either going to be a very good friend of Kevin, he's either going to be a friend, a kind of friend that becomes an enemy, or he's going to be an enemy straight away that gets murdered. So who's our second character, and are we going, once we develop him, are we going to like him, kind of like him, or like him?
This also could be an area where knowing your market comes in, where if we like right now, we are writing this with the idea like this might be just on spec or something that we write with the intention of pitching around. But if you're approached by someone in particular, like if you're approached specifically by Silverline, which is genre non-exclusive, but is like a PG-14 style branding, like we like 80 magic mushrooms may be a no-go, but if we're doing this for something like Max or whatever, like, okay, we need as many drugs and murders as possible, so you might go here. But yeah, we could go for defining a secondary character. Because if we did go have like a friend turn rival, we might turn this into something of like a genre. I almost broke out my familial German accent there and said "Equality," but Johnny Tsunami route of with a heavy magic mushroom influence, where it's kind of similar to Johnny Tsunami in some ways, but instead of the power of friendship, it's the power of magic mushrooms that gets our character to.
Hey, wait. Okay, hold on. Sorry, yes. I just got an idea.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a good one. But you know how like the old Gusher commercials where they would eat the Gusher and their head would turn into fruit? Like, what if that's actually Mushroom Kevin? Maybe like we can mash a couple of these ideas together.
Okay.
Like maybe we could take the first one and the second one and kind of mash it together. And instead of him being an undetected mushroom all the time, he like eats his mushrooms, and that's when he becomes like a great skateboarder, and that's when he looks like a mushroom, and then no one knows his identity.
Yes.
Because Mushroom Kevin is only the skateboarder, and regular Kevin is like a dude that works at a burger shop that flips mushrooms.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's forced to live in obscurity because he's he only shreds when he's become the mushroom head.
Yeah.
And then that's we get a brand deal with the band Mushroom Head. Okay, so I do like that of tying it in where in addition to becoming a skateboarder, he becomes a mushroom at that point after consuming another mushroom. Yes. Okay. So you might start tying this up together. So tying in the love interest of a gnome or a garden, is this going to be a are we going to have
it's kind of like an MJ Spider-Man scenario where she falls in love with Mushroom Kevin, but Kevin's in love with her, and she has to fall in love with Kevin without the mushroom.
Okay.
But that girl loves mushrooms, though.
And are we going to kind of do this where she kind of mirrors him, and that she's from a magical society of garden gnomes where they live as garden gnomes during the day, but during the night they come alive. So much like where Kevin has his secret identity, where no one knows that he's Kevin, but the mushroom has better. No one knows that the gnomes are.
Unless we just take away the humans and make this a society of gnomes.
Interesting. Huh. I could make it kind of more fantastic. We could make it very urban fantasy in that it's a world where like gnomes, elves, all these people kind of exist in the same place, which is also why it's not weird seeing a mushroom head on a skateboard.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're building something, boys.
Yes. So we know at least it is some
Breaking Bad gnome story.
Urban. Yes, we know it's at least some sort of urban fantasy, which, as we know, is a setting, not a genre. I'll die on this hill. All right. There you go. Love interest. An inner city gnome.
Inner city gnome.
Who is a florist and is therefore a garden gnome.
Oh my god, I was just going to say a florist. Oh, we're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
I was just gonna say she loves sunflowers.
Ooh, okay.
That was hilarious. I was just gonna say that. I guess it's not that much of a stretch from a garden gnome, but it's still funny.
Oh, it's almost like a elaborate play on words, in that it's not a garden gnome, but it's a garden. Perfect. Okay. All right.
So are we? Let's scratch the murder then.
Let's scrap the murder for now. We'll do the try and true of doing your scrap page there, several documents down. In case something needs to come back, it can come back. But until that point, you put it.
That's always
back.
what I do.
Yeah. Oh no, that's Sabaton coming to Portland. See you there. Okay, so now we've created Kevin, who is kind of gearing up to be something of a radical hidden identity type character who we may not get into anything like maybe not traditional. Well, we could maybe there is the potential of it leading into a vigilante style story, like you might see a lot of capes come out of with the secret identity that maybe in addition to becoming he stops crime with his skateboarding powers. Or at least he's becomes a much better skateboarder that might turn into more of a sports style comic in that it is focused on the claim of becoming the best skateboarder in the world or whatever, which also then might lead to some fun cameos from Mushroom Tony Hawk or
yes.
Yeah. So kind of looking at now how we know Kevin, I'm thinking almost along the roots of a rival or a sports tournament style story where it's either about him gearing up to win like an X Games tryouts or to become a better skateboarder than a friend turned rival. Is that kind of the same vibe you guys are getting?
I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which when we were talking about the murder, I was thinking along those lines anyway.
Yeah.
And him offing him, but now that we've dropped that for now anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe do you have Kevin? Do you want to go into defining who his counter might be or a secondary character, or do we want to go straight into defining the goal here? Is he overcoming a rival, or is he becoming,
Ooh.
Is he winning a tournament?
So many choices. So many choices. So like, hold on. Before we go this way, is Kevin like a preteen? Is he like teens? Is he in his 20s? Like, is it like a school bully type of thing? Is it just a rival? Is it like where, like, what's that thought?
I almost like the idea of treating it kind of like a early 20s idea. Like he might be working at kind of like a dead end service type job by day.
Yeah.
Radical mushroom skateboarder by night.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He was working at like a Burger King or something.
Yeah.
He's like one of those older kids that hang around younger kids, and hasn't done anything with his life.
And maybe like maybe it can be his rival that that Kevin feels like has been given everything his entire life and like that sort of deal, like the pure opposite of Kevin. He has everything that Kevin wants.
Right. Kind of a raised on the silver spoon type kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kevin is probably had to enter the workforce directly after high school. Kid probably got immediate full ride at college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Say attending high-end university.
I want to know how Kevin got the, like, my brain's already going. I want to know how Kevin got the mushrooms. I'm like, you're on this. I'm on, like, did he have a spirit guide?
Oh,
Like, I'm like so far off now.
Yeah, you could have a. You could. Well, I mean, we could be just now defining the cast of characters at this point, and you might also have a mentor character, traditional hero's journey and all that. But also, it's fun storytelling to have a mentor who's like.
Well, you know how gnomes plant stuff and take care of stuff. What if his his gnome genealogy is all about mushrooms, and of course it passes down to him, and he has all the secrets of the mushrooms.
Okay.
And so, like, he knows things that other people don't know about mushrooms, or maybe he stumbles on to something that maybe nobody knows about mushrooms.
Yeah, maybe like grandma
Yeah.
down. Yeah. Grandma gnome passing down, all that fun stuff.
I can see the scene now. Now these mushrooms right here. They're pulling some out of her purse wrapped in a napkin like your grandma at church with the candy. Like, wait a minute, didn't I have that piece last week?
It's not instead of a Werther's original, it's a mushroom.
Yeah.
The grandma's passed down secret mushroom magic.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Some like traditional style, like cultural folklore that goes into like, back in olden times, kind of like the berserker style mushrooms or whatever, where like great warriors and champions ate these to become stronger and like bring great honor to our family. He's like, I'm gonna take this freaking
like
spread,
that
man.
Classic shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and now we're already kind of breaking the elements of the story here, and that we know that it's going to be a rival story, which is very classic. Again, I'm just gonna keep on referencing Johnny Tsunami because it is. There are 3 stories. There are 4 stories. Man comes to town. A man goes on an adventure. Sharknado. And Johnny Tsunami. Those are the 4 kinds of literature. So we're going to have a rival story here that's set up, and that's the classic tale of your working class, make it on your own, learn how to do it by the sweat of your own shroom type gnome, versus the parents probably got him the best skateboarding instructor in the area, paid for his whole ride school. Probably also drives a really nice car that you might be able to do like a Street Fighter style scene where a bunch of kids just start kicking the crap out of it. We got the familial mentor passing down like the ancient folklore of these magic mushrooms that Kevin realizes can also make him a much better skateboarder, but no one knows that it's him. Which then also
identity.
Oh yeah. Which then also that might tie into an emotional struggle there, and that he doesn't feel like he's getting the acclaim that he feels like he deserves because he's skateboarding under a secret identity. But maybe that's something he has to learn to overcome, and know that it's not about the acclaim as much as it is about the effort and the hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a moral to our story. We've really strayed from the murder. Just saying.
Yeah, it really went.
Now this is a story I could actually read to my kids.
Yes. Well, that's when we get into the sequel series years down the line, where his best friend gets murdered and he has to find out what happened.
Yes.
And Mushroom Kevin can have a cameo.
Yes.
Yeah, he could be like the forensic, person who comes in. And we think that this was a mushroom killing. And we know that you know a lot about mushrooms. Why, yes, I do.
Perfect. All right. Do you also want the rival to be a gnome? Is he kind of going to be like even more of like the flip mirror of Kevin, or is he going to be something else in our fantastical city of rad people?
Now I'm gonna go away from this for a second, but we can come back.
Yeah.
Just because, like, in this type of story, which is this is kind of just gonna be like the norm, like the rival, I'm thinking like has the girl as well, and when I say has the girl, Kevin feels like he has the girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I said, usually my brain just comes up with these, and like for whatever reason, like I pictured the girl as her name Rosalie, and the rival always gives her roses, but Kevin figures out she doesn't even like roses. She likes sunflowers. Like something unique like that. I always try to bring into the story. So like if the rival's doing this, is he like if she's a gnome and we know she's a gnome and they're having these interactions, like I think about this since this is a comic, you know, they're going to be on the page a lot together. Do we want some contrast, or does it work better to keep them all gnomes? You know, that sort of.
Yeah. Do we want to go full Keebler with this?
What if everything was like our world, but everybody's gnomes? That's just an idea.
Yeah.
And like they have their own
Juliet.
terminology and stuff. Like you know how we say, "Oh man, that's cool," or "That's not cool," or you know, they could have their own terminology about stuff that's all gnome centered. Like that's so normal. You're such a gnome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so normal.
That's so normal.
You're so normal.
Oh, it's a gnome reality. Okay, so we're gonna set this into gnome reality. We're just gonna assume that people are gnomes at this point.
Get away from me, you gnome Anderthal.
Perfect.
Now, see, that's the kind of stuff right there that people pick up on and memes get started, you know.
Oh, yeah. Any gnome. Lars.
And all their last names can be like gnome centered, like
yes,
Nomiet.
Yep.
No. Nomen.
Nomen.
What should the rival's name be, guys? I feel like he's screaming to be heard.
We haven't gotten, you know, he should have kind of a. If we're playing hard into this, I feel like you should have like the very like snobby like name, right? Like Chester or something. Clarence.
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 And maybe that's the thing too, is that he, even though he is kind of like, you know, fed the silver spoon, everything comes from a well-to-do gnome family. He tries to, like, you know, maybe that's a part of like his emotional part of relation too, is that he wants to be rad like everyone else, but so he's like, no,
or
guys.
Maybe it could be like he's Clarence Nobile Noet the Third, so he's always trying to get his father's. He's just trying to do well to get his father's.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
Or maybe his father was something great and he's trying to be something great to kind of be on par with the family name or something. That's a big deal with fellas. Imagine trying to live in somebody's shadow. It's tough.
Or maybe his father was like a great, this kind of like just adds to what Quentin said, like a great skateboarder, and he's just trying to live up to that name.
Yeah. And maybe he developed something of like a superiority complex where he just takes it out on everyone around him, and that's kind of what that starts some of the beef with Kevin.
Yeah.
He built a great empire. You could just do all kinds of stuff with that. Guess what I'm drawing, Mackenzie?
Tell me. You have no idea. When you sent me that this morning, oh my god, it just made my day.
And see, I took the extra time that I never do, and I filled in the top of the page with name, date, book, issue. I never do that. I know somebody somewhere, some letterer is like pulling their hair out every time I send these things in because there's never any page numbers or I'm sure we're going to be getting some messages at some point saying, "Guys, you got to put this stuff on here."
And I'm also just giving the mentor a familial name. Just gonna be the No Ma.
No Ma. I love it.
Yes.
Quentin, I'm like so excited though.
Like the Grand Poobah, it's the Grand Noma.
Yes.
Grand Noma.
And I already kind of have an idea of how the story might wrap up. This conflict, at least, is that it's going to be kind of the almost like the end of every like Disney Channel original where Kevin and Clarence have the set and like, hey man, it's cool. You don't need to live up to be like your dad. You can be just you, and that's fine.
Yeah, you can be normal, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And they become friends.
All right. So now we get to kind of where we define the log line, which for those of you who don't work in film, you probably have never seen one of these in your life. But it's usually just 1 to 3 sentences that is like the quick, like if you're spitting something out as someone's walking by, like, hey, here's a story I have.
Yeah.
So
this is going to cause some lawsuits like 12 or 15 years from now. This is going to be like some jamming story, and then we're all going to be in like this court battle. You know, I actually saw this happen with Deadpool, with Overkill, whenever Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, or Liefeld, however you pronounce it, and Stan Lee were doing a show together. And Stan Lee said a couple times, you know, that they were on the clock, you know, that this all belongs to me. And of course, there was some issues on all those characters that they did because they actually did something with them. And yeah, it was funny. I actually watched that show and I was like, wow, that looks just like that. That is Deadpool.
All right. So, kind of finding our conflict here. It's kind of the basics of what we know. Mushroom Kevin, a subpar film skateboarder. Is the one who's taking the action here, but the inside the incident, what happens to him, we kind of glance over is that he's probably been razzed or bullied by a long time by Clarence. They probably went to school together. And Clarence taking on a superior complex on him might have done a long thing to develop the beef. So when Kevin falls for Rosalie and sees that she's currently with Clarence, that might start his call to action to pursue the magic mushrooms.
Yes.
And maybe they like. Maybe it can be kind of like. And again, this is I'm not saying it correctly, but you might pick up what I'm laying down. It's kind of like whatever they're doing is kind of like the X Games, and before the X Games, there's like a homecoming, and then after there's a X Games, there's a prom, and she goes to the homecoming with Clarence, and at the end she can go to prom with Kevin. Or sorry, reverse that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You get what I'm saying? That can be
Yeah.
the call to action. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Something like that. Something that's really important when you're that age, but it means nothing when in 10 years.
Right. Okay. Definitely. All right.
You don't have to use that. I'm just throwing out what my brain is rolling out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so if we wanted to put them into like drop them back down into like high school, so they're all in high school together, we can absolutely do that. But I was thinking if we're keeping them kind of like in this mid-20s area where he's already gone to fast food and Clarence has started attending university, being someone from this scene, a big thing for everyone involved in it is if you live in a more rural area, which I live outside of Salem, so we're kind of out towards farm area, but it's barn shows where essentially like all the county's punk bands set up in someone's abandoned barn and rock out. So if you know, and it might be that there's because X Games do tour, they all have essentially touring tryout things where if it starts out at one barn show where Kevin falls for Rosalie there, but she's with Clarence, and he's like, oh man, I gotta, the next thing coming up is this like qualifier, I gotta ace that so I can get her.
Yeah. I can see it.
So
we could have just made it simple too, and she could have just came into the restaurant that he worked at.
Very possible, but I mean, it's kind of like that. I like the idea of though, and like at a very punky barn show, just two gnomes make eyes across the pit.
That's good. I really like your hat. Oh, I like yours too.
And everybody has the same hat.
Yeah, exactly. The normal classic hat.
I mean, obviously, like the main thing what's actually going to win her over isn't that he proves that he's a better skateboarder. It's that he takes time to learn that she actually likes sunflowers and not roses. And that's going to be so. Another thing is that he believes he needs to be a skateboarder. Clarence believes that he needs to be the cream of the crop as well, and she's kind of stuck between their emotional baggage. But when Kevin realizes, like, no, I just need to learn more about her, that's when he also learns that he needs to learn more about Clarence, and they can work through their beef together too.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, what about this? What if him and Clarence, like whenever he's in his normal form or whatever, they're kind of on speaking terms.
Right.
And of course, Clarence doesn't know that he's the mushroom guy.
Yeah.
And the mushroom guy is and then Clarence is talking to him one day, and they're like, or one part, and he's like, starting to tell him about all the pressure that he's under to be this and to be that and all that kind of stuff. And then Clarence or Mushroom Kevin starts to realize, maybe my ideas about all this have been all wrong.
Yeah.
And what if like Mushroom Kevin has like a Cinderella moment? Like that can be the revealing factor. Like he's like, Cinderella had to get out by midnight. He only gets a certain time frame with as he eats these mushrooms. So like, and something happens that his time that he's supposed to skateboard gets changed. So he takes the skateboard, or he takes his mushrooms to be good, and they have to change his time so he doesn't have any more mushrooms. So real Kevin needs to finish out, and it's no longer Mushroom Kevin.
Yeah.
Real Kevin needs to skateboard at the end because he doesn't have his mushrooms.
And he realizes that the Nar was inside him all along.
Exactly.
And then the reader realizes, as he's reading all this story, it is okay to juice before an event. That's obviously what this story is all about. Is taking supplements to make your performance better.
Hey man, a little bit of no
And at the
People
very
will
end,
like you.
a little bit of no
that's
stork
it.
is still
At the
pirating
very end, we
legal.
have him get arrested, so they know that everything we wrote is illegal, and you shouldn't
Yes.
do it.
Yep. It just dawned on me, you know, I just started thinking about all the people who have gotten so much trouble.
It's like Russia in the Olympics, and then from
Yes.
then on, Kevin couldn't compete on the X
Yep.
Games under his
Yes.
country's flag. He had to compete under the Committee of Gnomes.
Well, maybe that's the thing is he wins, he beats Clarence out, and then his mushrooms wear off, and he's like, I give up my medal to Clarence
Yeah.
because I've been juicing the whole time, and it's cheating, and so there you go. There's our story. Juicing's bad.
and that also plays into his other emotional baggage that he doesn't feel like he's getting the accolades he deserves, and at the end he's like, you know what, I'm going to give up the accolade that I've got to the guy who was my rival.
Yep.
It's probably just because it's 1 a.m. for me that I think this is a fabulous idea.
Yep. This is going to be the best ever. The next Silverline Kickstarter, you'll see it a year from now after it's been in development.
Yes. Perfect. And now
we just accidentally wrote Silverline's next bestseller.
I know. Perfect.
Now,
So,
if we see something come out of DreamWorks, it's got something to do with mushrooms, we know what's up.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
can go back to the video.
And that's also going back to, you know, why you might break your story with other people and why you showed around is because the best like trademark protection until you have the market is just having more people know that you wrote it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's a huge thing though. Like I think a lot of young writers like are scared to get their stuff out there. First of all, because they're scared of getting their ideas stolen.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's actually one of the best things because like you said, I can't tell you how many scripts I've had gone through like film festivals or just script festivals or anything like that, or even had studios or managers read. It's like those are protected now because all of these people know that that was my idea, I own it, and that's huge. And now we have this as video evidence that this is ours.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we have created our we created kind of our character skeletons, our log line summary there. And now you get into a point where if we were to take like another hour or so, we'd go through and break down like, okay, how would this be divided into issues? What would be the smaller micro conflicts? And then eventually what would each page look like? But
then if you're Tolkien, then you come up with a backstory for every extra in your story. Some elaborate way they're all can and where they come from and where their people come from. World building.
Well, a lot of the times I do that for like I know I did it for Quentin for Nightrise. Like sometimes when you're like trying to get what your characters look like across, having a backstory for them helps.
Yes.
And it helps the artist. Well, every time I've worked with an artist, it helps.
Well, it helps me when I'm drawing to know where they're from, what they're doing. But I was more talking about tertiary characters that have absolutely no impact on the story yet.
It doesn't matter. They still need something.
Yeah, like in the cantina, people are still trying to get certain people that were in the cantina in Star Wars, you know, but they can't get them because they never had. Like there was these twins. They've never made a figure of them because they asked. They were the only people to ask, even back then. Well, our likenesses, are we going to get paid for y'all using our likenesses? So there's never been any figures or anything with their likeness on there besides printed material. So but all these tertiary characters that have no real impact are just kind of like stuck in there. But yeah,
but
it does help a
those are
lot
the
to
ones
have
that
a
become fan
backstory.
favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like, when I was younger, like, Avatar The Last Airbender, that Cabbage Man, he got to be a fan favorite. They put him everywhere in the background.
That's how Boba Fett happened.
Yeah.
Yep. The one
For
good
sure.
thing that came out of the Christmas special.
Yep. The one good thing.
He didn't like the 30 minutes of just Wookiees speaking Wookiee.
Yeah.
Or singing in the cantina.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's
It was weird.
That's so good.
You know, though, when I was a kid, if I saw that as a kid, I would not have even paid attention just because it was Star Wars.
My favorite thing as a kid was watching through the Ewok movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a show on Tuesday. We have been your hosts, Mackenzie Wertman, Quentin Bedwell, and I've been Tim TK. We're gonna throw our socials on the bottom here, but I don't have Quincy's on there yet. So Mackenzie, where can people follow you?
Yeah, since I'm not on there, you can follow me at my website, which is just www.myname.com, and then also at any of my usernames of Wortman25.
Perfect. Wortman25.
Wortman25. That's from Webkins. It's stuck since Webkins.
I remember Webkins.
That was my username that I created when I was like 7, and it has stuck with me until I am 26. So,
So Webkins really made a impression on you, huh?
It really did. It shaped my life. All my usernames and my passwords.
Perfect.
Try to crack those because they're wonky.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Quentin J. Bedwell. You could probably Google and find me. Quentin J. Bedwell's art, but I don't suggest you do that because there's a lot of art that, is old, and some of it's not really praiseworthy. But anyway, yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. I'm also on DeviantArt as QB, Instagram, QJ Bedwell, or Quentin J. Bedwell. Yeah, so, and you can find me here just about every Tuesday, unless I fudge and lay out like some of our other people did tonight. What?
Perfect.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TimTKWriter. You can also now find me by Google. I finally beat out Tim TK Cupra in the search engine optimization.
Awesome.
I finally appear above him. So I'm now the first result when we type in Tim TK.
Thankfully, I've never had that issue.
For a while, it used to be Tim Takahashi. He was a color commentator for ESPN. Understandably, much more successful than I am. But I'm like, finally, it's me.
With a name like Quentin,
there's no other Mackenzie Wertmans.
Yeah, with a name like Quentin, I've not had too much trouble. Although Quentin Hoover was, pretty huge. I don't know if either one of you ever saw any of his work, but he was a Magic the Gathering artist. He did other art too. He was really good. He's passed on way years ago, but he was really good.
All right.
But anyway,
yeah,
I think you're really good.
Yeah. You did a whole cathedral into your next year.
Yeah. And now I'm doing a whole village.
Yes.
Exciting.
Remember just to reference as much architecture for your artist as possible.
Yep.
So
if it's a real place.
Right. On tonight's episode, we have you got to learn more about us, and we went through and broke down the start of a story. So if you're getting into writing comics and want to know where to start, that's kind of where you start. You just start throwing ideas at a wall and see what weird trip that takes you down. And then don't be afraid to revise it or cut and paste and change it out as needed. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. We'll 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays and Sunday for the Wednesday Warmers and Silver Sundayers, respectively. And we've been your Tuesday dudes. We will see you again next time. We do have a new Kickstarter on the horizon. Which you can find the link on our website. We put a post for it earlier today. It's going to be a sci-fi extravaganza. I got 3 titles coming together now. Again, we'd like to remind you to
make mine Silverline.
Good show, Quentin. What'd you think about it?
I think it was really good.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.